Darkcast Network, indie pods with a dark side.
Hi, this is Kelly.
And this is Jenna.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is One Deadly Dose from Murder. This episode is from 2015 out of the small town of Utica in upstate New York.
Going to the East Coast.
Yes. So this starts with doctors Bill and Mary Yoder, who ran a very... What? Sorry. Do you know the story?
No, I'm just laughing.
Okay.
It's like trying to say Yoda as an English person. Yoder.
Yoder. Hey, I like that Yoder character.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
I like it.
So they ran a very popular practice in town called Chiropractic Family Care for more than 30 years.
Wow. Okay.
They're both chiropractors. They have their own place, right? They had many long-term patients, like people that they had cared for over decades.
Oh, wow.
Like people went to them, they loved them. And having known them for so long, there were a lot of their patients that started as patients and then became friends.
Oh, absolutely.
They referred to them just as like Dr. Bill and Dr. Mary.
Oh, that's cute.
Bill and Mary had been married for 40 years.
Wow.
Right? That's unusual. They had 4 kids, 3 daughters who were grown, and then a son who was in his 20s. Okay. Grownish.
Yeah, not bad.
They even had a few grandchildren. I couldn't figure out how many. I tried. They were very well known, respected, and loved in their community.
Decent people.
Right. Why are we telling their story?
Yeah. What you got for me?
Yeah. So this one's a doozy, man. Mm-hmm. Mary, who was 60 years old, was very active, very healthy. She made pottery. She did belly dancing.
Oh my God.
She was very fit.
That's awesome.
She was very particular about what she put in her body.
Ah, so very health conscious.
Right. She believed in holistic medicine. She used that in her practice. She took herbal supplements. She grew some of her own herbs in her garden.
Wow.
She was just very health conscious, very holistic. Dedicated. So it was unusual when on the afternoon of Monday, July 20th in 2015, Mary's at work. She's seeing patients and she started to feel like very ill, like instant stomach digestive issues, right?
One diarrhea from murder.
Yeah, one diarrhea. Patients actually reported that she was having to like stop and run to the bathroom.
Oh, that sucks. I would be like, yeah, we're going home. Sorry.
And that's what happened. Exactly. Shortly after she started to get sick, she's like, this is not going away. This wasn't like okay, one and it's done. I'm better.
Yeah,
it's out of my system.
Nah,
nope.
This is ongoing.
So yeah, she cancels the rest of her appointments for the day.
Good plan.
And goes home. She continues to be pretty violently ill the rest of the evening.
Oh, no.
Well, the both ends thing, the vomiting and the diarrhea.
Miserable.
She's miserable, right?
Oof.
So the next day, Bill drives her to the ER.
Oh, good.
And she's severely dehydrated, of course.
Okay.
But doctors can't find any obvious reason for her symptoms.
Yeah, so they're probably like, hey, it's a virus. Don't worry about it.
So they're trying to figure out, but they admit her and they're treating her for dehydration and they're running tests and keeping an eye on her. And at first she showed signs of improvement. But around 10 p.m. that evening, she actually fell while she was at the hospital.
Ooh. Okay, she got woozy or whatever.
And they ended up taking her to the ICU.
Oof.
And she just continues to deteriorate.
Oh, no.
Right? So she's getting worse. Her organs start failing. She had 8 heart attacks.
Oh, God.
This is like within a matter of hours. She kept going into cardiac arrest.
Oh.
The 8th time they couldn't bring her back.
Oh, my God. And they just couldn't stop it.
Yeah. I mean, she just went from like doing okay. Maybe she's got a stomach bug, food poisoning to just. So less than 36 hours after being admitted to the hospital, she dies.
Oh, wow.
Like it was fast. And people were shocked. Like she was the picture of health. This isn't someone who like ate McDonald's for every meal and didn't take care of themselves. And people were like, she was a 60-year-old healthy woman. If she can go, oh my God, like
I'm
all screwed,
doomed.
Right? Exactly. Since she was under hospital care at the time and the cause of her symptoms was still kind of like, we don't know what happened, they had to order an autopsy.
To do the
right?
autopsy. Okay.
So when the ME examines her body, they're like, whoa, they open her up and her organs are a mess. The ME stated that the way her organs looked, it looked as though she had been through extensive long-term chemotherapy.
Oh, wow. Like radiation damage looking.
Right. They said it appeared that her cells had been attacking each other.
Ah, that's horrifying.
Which is basically what chemotherapy does is, it attacks, unfortunately, the good and the bad cells. But that's what it looked like. But not like, oh, she got a dose of chemotherapy. Like she'd been experiencing like long-term exposure.
Like a terminal cancer. Oh.
So they determined that she died. Like they don't have like a cause of death, but they determined that what killed her was rapid organ failure, large scale cell damage, and cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
Were what happened. But what caused that, they still didn't know.
Happen, they don't know.
The only possible explanation they could think of was that she ingested some kind of poison.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Right. The thing is, the standard toxicology tests all came back negative.
Oh, great. So they have to test for something specific to find it.
Right. Exactly. So the ME sent her blood for further testing to a clinical toxicologist from the Poison Control Center in upstate New York, whose name was Dr. Jenna Marafa. And she initially was like, well, she takes a lot of supplements and stuff. Like those are not as closely regulated as people might think, unfortunately. So they're thinking maybe it was one of her supplements was contaminated. You know what people do.
Yeah.
There's like the fentanyl that's in shit now and, scary stuff, right? But they're kind of ruling out that it wasn't like an overdose on any of those. That didn't seem
that would be extreme.
Right. So this Dr. Marafa, she's looking at, the medical files on Mary, everything from the hospital stuff. And she noticed her symptoms line up with an overdose of a drug called colchicine. Which is a drug that's really only used to treat gout.
Oh.
Which, by the way, I've heard of, but I had to Google. It is an inflammatory arthritis that causes sudden attacks of severe pain, swelling, and tenderness.
Oh.
Typically starts in your big toe. Colchicine works similarly to chemotherapy, where it like attacks the cells. But that's why it's monitored closely by doctors. And they use it in very, very, very low doses.
Oh.
Because it can be very dangerous. And they said that even therapeutic doses can be deadly. Like, it has to be monitored because, like, you can easily get too much of it in your system.
Yikes. Okay, this is not an arthritis I want.
So Mary's blood was tested specifically for colchicine. And not only was it positive for the drug, but there was enough in her system to potentially poison 15 people.
Oh, someone overdid it.
Right? So nobody in the Yoder home suffered from gout. There was no reason for them to have this there.
No gout meds.
There was no gout to be found in the family, right? There was no reason for it to be in her blood. They tested all the supplements that she had at her house. They didn't find it anywhere. So it wasn't like it had been put somewhere else. The ME ends up listing her cause of death as homicide.
Oh, good.
And so November 2015, 4 months after she died, the sheriff's office opened an investigation into her murder.
Oh, good.
They also brought up that they're like, could it have been suicide? And they were like, well, from talking to everybody, that didn't seem likely based on what they found out about Mary. Also, this was an incredibly painful way to die. So not likely there's so many other ways that you could do it. That would also be easier.
It would be more easy, to do.
Investigators begin interviewing patients and friends and family, and they're shocked to find out that Mary's death's being investigated as a murder. They're like,
ooh, really?
Right?
Okay.
And also, this was very unusual for Utica, New York. There was one source, I believe it was one of the prosecutors in the case later, that said that Utica had maybe 5 murders a year.
Wow.
So they're just like, whoa,
yeah,
this is everyone was like just kind of blown away. Like, and who would want to hurt her?
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering. Like, what's the motive here?
It was determined that Mary would have started having symptoms about 3 hours after ingesting the colchicine. Okay. So there's a very short window, right? She started getting sick in the afternoon. She typically would have like a shake, like a health shake or a smoothie at lunch at the chiropractic office. Like around 1 o'clock. So they're like, okay. So she it was probably in her shake, right?
Yeah, so let's check everyone who had access. Oh,
right.
God.
So sometimes she made them at home and brought them in, but sometimes she made them right there in the office. Nobody knew which it was for that day.
Oh,
I mean, who's monitoring her shakes, right?
Yeah.
Except for, obviously somebody. One person
somebody was paying
right?
attention.
Right? Mary's patients reported her becoming ill around 4:30. And that's about when she asked their receptionist, Katie, to cancel the rest of her day. So police thought it was likely her shake. Someone got to her shake.
This is why we don't drink healthy shakes.
There's another reason not to drink healthy shakes. Exactly. Prepackaged
kidding.
shit all the way, man.
Yeah, man. What?
So, of course, the first person they focus on is Mary's husband, Bill, because you always look at the husband first, right? They usually have access. There's usually some kind of a motive you can dig up, right? They have the most to gain. Obviously, he would have the most access to her and her food. Investigators learn that Bill had been anxious to retire, but the Yoders were not financially able to do so because they had no savings, which I found very surprising as a successful two-doctor family.
Chiropractors. I mean, chiropractors make boatloads.
Right?
Wow. That's
so
shocking.
They had no savings, but there also was no life insurance policy on Mary. So there was nothing to gain in that way either.
Right.
There were rumors that Bill was in a romantic relationship with Mary's older sister, Kathy.
Ew.
Right?
Dirty bird.
Kathy was a widow. Her husband had passed away the year before and had left Kathy a large sum of money.
Oh, okay. So this could bring motive in. Yeah.
Right? Plenty for Bill and Kathy to retire comfortably together. So police are like, well, this could be motive, right? Now he's got means and motive. And as a doctor, Bill would have a way to acquire the drug.
Absolutely. So they should be able to track whether he got the drug, right?
He was interviewed. Bill denies having any involvement in his wife's murder. He was like, no,
of course,
Kathy and I only grew close after Mary died because she's a widow. I'm not a widow. It's her sister, my wife.
That's
all right.
Somewhat understandable. Yeah.
Right. He also was like, I was not at the clinic on the day she died. He was not working that day.
Oh. But if she had made the shake at home,
right.
He could have had access.
If she had made the shake. Okay, right. So they're focusing on the husband right now. But then an anonymous typed letter was sent to both the ME's office and the sheriff's office. The exact same letter.
Ooh, the mystery deepens.
Typed. This is 2015. People don't type shit.
Well, they type it, but they don't have a typewriter.
Right. It's not like actually like a typewriter. Type. Exactly. Right. Even the envelope was typed. That's some typewriter skills that not everybody knows. Right. In the letter, the author stated that Mary had been poisoned using colchicine, which was something the police had not made public. When they knew what she'd been poisoned with, they did not let that info out.
Definitely someone on the inside.
Exactly. And the letter said that it was Mary's son, Adam, who was responsible for the murder.
What would he need with it?
The letter went on to say that Adam killed his mother because she had cut him off financially.
Huh.
And that the bottle of colchicine could be found wrapped in cardboard under the passenger seat of Adam's Jeep.
Ooh.
This is somebody with some seriously intimate knowledge, right?
Yes. Or they could have placed it there themselves to frame Adam.
Exactly.
Ooh, this is like a murder mystery.
Right. So they had to turn the investigation and go, all right, we need to know more about Adam.
Oh, Adam.
So, Adam's in his mid-20s, and it's true that Mary and Bill had stopped financially supporting him about 3 years prior. From what I understand, he went to college, then he'd quit, then he'd go back, then he'd quit.
He was not a finisher.
He was not a finisher. Women don't like that, FYI. Anyway, so, well, it was the other. Anyway, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And so he didn't seem to be very motivated. He was just, he's living off his two parents who can't retire.
Yeah, have no savings.
So after a while, Bill and Mary had enough. And so they're like, if you're not going to finish school, then we're not going to support you anymore. You got to do something. I don't know if it was Mary that made this decision. I don't know why he would only be mad at one. But maybe. it sounds like Bill wanted to retire and Mary's like, we can't. I don't know.
Yeah, that
maybe she was the
financial person.
Exactly, right? She was the responsible one. Exactly. She wore the pants. So Adams called in for an interview, right? Or again, or whatever. And he was surprised when they're like, we're looking at you for the murder of your mother. And he was just like, huh?
What?
Say what now?
I've been smoking weed. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm being aimless. That's what I do.
I'm being aimless.
This is a lot of planning for me. I don't plan.
Yeah, I don't do this.
He lets them know that he has an alibi for when she died. He had been in Long Island for several days visiting his sister.
Oh, okay.
When Mary was poisoned, and he only came home from Long Island when Bill called to say, your mother is in the hospital. It's serious. You guys should come
all right.
to the hospital, right? But then police tell Adam, well, we got this letter and it points to you. They said we might find something interesting in your Jeep. Can we look at your Jeep?
Oh, God.
So Adam's panicked. So he asks for an attorney, which, I mean, smart, right? And the attorney said, you can give them consent. Like, I guess they talked and he was like, dude, I had nothing to do with this. Like, but they want to look at my Jeep. The attorney actually said, I think it's, you have nothing to hide. Go ahead and give them.
Oh, crap.
So Adam was actually in the parking lot with detectives.
Oh, shit.
As they started to look through the Jeep. The one show I watched, he's like, Adam was out there just smoking a cigarette. Like, do what you got to do, right?
I don't care.
And so they start looking and there's pictures of the Jeep. I mean, this Jeep looks like when my kids were like 2. There's shit everywhere.
It's trashed, yeah.
Like they were just pulling things out, right? It's trash. But there, under the seat, is like cardboard, kind of like a circular tube of cardboard, and they pull it out, and there is a bottle of colchicine there.
That's pretty damning.
Just like they said it was going to be. And the detective made note that Adam was genuinely shocked.
Okay.
When they pulled that out. That he said something like the cigarette almost fell out of his mouth. Like he just was like, what? But again, like when my car was like that, you probably could have pulled a murder weapon out. I would have been like, I had no idea that was there.
I did not remember that was there.
Right, exactly. I got so much shit. They believed his genuine surprise.
Okay.
Also, they weren't blind to the fact that what killer is going to drive to the police station with the murder weapon in their car and then give consent and then stand there
unless
and
you're
go,
a total
sure,
dumbass.
you can look.
Yeah.
Unless you're a total dumbass or some kind of bizarre criminal mastermind that's like, you're not going to think that I'm going to do what you're going to think I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but also when they looked at the bottle of colchicine, wrapped up with it in the cardboard was like a receipt or like the mailing slip, like the shipping thing. And there was the prescription where it was ordered, was signed by Dr. Bill Yoder.
Oh, yeah.
But the order had been shipped to Adam Yoder at Family Chiropractic Care.
Oh.
And it had an email address listed that was Mr. Adam Yoder 1990 at gmail.com.
Huh. Interesting.
Police are like, what do you have to say to this? And Adam's like, look, I have 2 email addresses and one of them is very similar to that Gmail, but that's not it.
Oh, so someone's setting him up.
Right. So he's like, I'm being framed. And police are like, we're pretty sure you're being framed too, right?
Yeah.
They kind of, right?
Oh, they did. Okay.
But that means that the author that has this very specific knowledge is probably the killer.
Yeah, you would think, right? And is it Bill because he's the one who wrote the prescription?
Right. Or are people working together? Did Bill work with the anonymous letter writer? Is Bill the anonymous letter writer? Like what?
Why would you set up your own kid?
I'm sure it's been done.
I'm sure.
Will be done before. Will be done again is what I meant to say.
Yes.
The police send the letters, the envelopes, the colchicine bottle, the cardboard, and the receipt. They all send it for DNA testing to see what they can get off of it, right?
Good.
And what came back was the DNA of an unknown female.
Oh.
What? Like, we're looking at all these guys here, right?
Yeah.
It does not match Mary's DNA.
What about Kathy?
They also are able to determine that Bill's signature on the colchicine prescription had been forged.
Ooh. Wow. So someone maybe had access to his prescription pad.
Mm-hmm. So Bill insisted he had nothing to do with Mary's murder and gave police access to whatever they needed in the chiropractic office.
Wow.
That might help. And when they were doing their initial investigation, we're looking at the chiropractic office, they noticed that there was an old school typewriter in the office.
That's odd.
Right? So they took it for analysis. This is what's interesting. They took the typewriter ribbon out of the typewriter.
Yes.
And they pulled it out the ribbon and they cut it into like 3 foot lengths and they laid it out on a piece of white cardboard.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
And so for people who don't remember how typewriters work,
yeah,
you know, unlike the computer, like it types and then the ink from the ribbon goes on the paper and then that ink is no longer on the ribbon. You can see through it. It's like plastic. You can see through it, right? You can see what was typed. So when they pull it out, they find the addresses of both the sheriff's office and the medical examiner. So those envelopes had been typed on that ribbon.
That's insane.
Right?
Insane.
This is why you should use a computer and not a typewriter. Okay. Also, if you ever saw the end of Jagged Edge. Anyway, old movie, super old movie, but very good. Only 4 people had access to that machine. Bill, Mary, Adam, and their receptionist, Katie Conley.
Huh. So Adam does go to that office or work
Apparently
with them.
He had access to it. Mm-hmm. They're doing their investigation, right?
Yeah.
So Katie Conley was a 22-year-old who was their receptionist / office manager.
Right.
She had worked for the Yoders for about 4 years. She also was Adam's on-again, off-again girlfriend.
Uh-oh.
She had become very close to the Yoder family.
Yeah, you would imagine.
Over the 4 years. So much so that when Mary was in the hospital dying and they called all the family to come to the hospital, she was one of the people there.
Wow. Yes. Oof.
Okay. And Adam and Katie were not at the time together.
Okay.
When Mary died.
Not dating.
Oh, and I found out later that she was listed among Mary's loved ones in her obituary.
Wow.
So yeah, like they
close.
had really, right?
Like a surrogate daughter.
The day after Mary died, Katie actually made a Facebook post that said, "If love could have saved you, you would have lived forever. God has gained the best angel. We love you."
Aw, she seems like she really is sad and cares. And
police questioned Katie, and the detectives asked her directly if she wrote the anonymous letters.
Oh.
And her response was, "You can't protect me."
What?
And they're like, "Of Adam? Like, is that you know?" And she was like, "Yeah, you can't protect me." She was terrified of Adam.
Huh.
And they're like, "Actually, we can, but okay."
Yeah. we do have guns, but yeah.
She told them that they had ended their relationship a year before and that she'd only ever heard of colchicine from Adam mentioning it.
Uh-oh.
In the meantime, police had contacted Google and got the IP address or addresses, I don't really know how that works, for the Gmail account, right?
Oh,
because they couldn't find out who set up the Gmail account, but they could see where it had been accessed from. And that account had only ever been accessed by 2 devices. One was the receptionist computer at the chiropractic station,
okay,
which Katie uses, but other people have
other
access
people would
to.
have access, right?
But the other spot was her cell phone.
Oh, that's a little damning.
There it is.
Oh, yeah, hard to get over that one.
When Katie's phone was searched, they found large amounts of data had been deleted in the months after the murder. Like just big spots of blank, right?
Cutting hot out a little bit.
So that's suspicious. So they dig a little further. Katie and Adam's relationship was very tumultuous, right? It had been, and they had been broken up for a very long time. But shortly after Mary's death, they kind of got back together for a brief period. Like they were both grieving and they kind of...
This is trauma for both of us. We're grieving together. Love, love, love.
Turned out during that short period of time, Katie had used Adam's computer to back up her phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Police took the computer and looked at it, and this was before she had deleted all the stuff.
Oh, good. Yay.
And so the backup showed searches of colchicine and colchicine poisoning.
Oh, Katie. Why you want to take out Mary, though? Oh.
Okay. Yeah. We're getting there.
Oh,
also, she offered a DNA sample. They asked, she said sure, and she was a match for the female DNA on the colchicine bottle.
Shit. And she's trying to set up her ex, basically. Oh, wow.
So in June of 2016, her full name was Caitlin Conley. Caitlin Conley was charged with second-degree murder. Prosecutors showed that Katie had been planning the murder for almost a year.
Oh.
The searches on colchicine had actually started soon after Adam had broken up with her.
Yeah, where
like
are you going
almost
after Adam,
a full
then?
year before, right? They argued that her plan was not only to get revenge on Adam, but possibly get him back when he was mourning the loss of his mother.
Gross. Ugh. Taking advantage of his grieving. That's
right.
Awful.
But also, you're going to frame him. So,
right. So
it was kind of weird, right?
Yeah. Huh. Maybe she wanted convalescent time in the prison. She was like, that's sexier for her. Reminds me of Reno 911.
Oh, no, God. Prosecutors showed that Katie had a history of getting back at her exes when they broke up. She's only 22,
I was
though.
just going to say
this was
that
high
22.
School.
What is she?
I know. So this is high school. It's kind of like giving Taylor Swift shit. I'm like, she was 22. What did you do when you were 22? I mean, I dated people for 3 days before. Like, I mean, really?
Seriously, it's true.
It's just that she's in the spotlight. So you're,
but don't judge.
I'm guessing you did the same things.
Oh,
so anyway.
for real.
But yeah, they were like, oh, she's got this long history of getting back at people.
This 4-year.
There's a difference between what's that song when she keys the car of her.
Yes, there is a big difference between keying a car and killing
someone's car. Right. It's another country singer. God, I can't think of her name right now. I used to sing the damn song.
You did?
In the band. What the hell? She took a Louisville Slugger to both headlights. I can't. Okay, I got the lyrics and everything. So Carrie Underwood. There's a big difference between like egging their house.
Oh, absolutely.
And
killing their mom. Yeah. I'd say that's a little extreme.
That escalated quickly. Right.
Woo.
Prosecutors also showed that several months before Mary's death in April, Adam had gotten violently ill after taking supplements that Katie had given him to help him study.
Wow. Creepy.
But he got violently ill and then he stopped taking them.
Smart.
So like he also had very similar like stomach issues. He got really sick.
But it could have killed him.
It could have killed him, right? So, oh yeah. Katie's defense team still points the finger at Bill Yoder, the husband. They're like, he's the one that had the motive to kill his wife. He could have poisoned her shake at home and then avoided going into the office on purpose. Also, they pointed out that once Mary had gone to the hospital at first and they admitted her, she was getting better.
Oh.
And then she took a drastic turn for the worse. Later that day. And Bill had been visiting her. So they kind of gave did he give her some more?
Did he do something?
While she was there, right? There were witnesses they had testified that said that his romantic relationship with the sister actually happened before.
Oh.
The death. Like people thought that they saw them together romantically before that.
Okay. That would be another motive.
Right. The defense also claimed that Mary may have ordered the colchicine herself, although that doesn't give you reason for why it was under the car.
Right.
But so apparently in the 1980s, Mary came up with this mixture that included colchicine that could be used to enhance the growth of plants, particularly marijuana. Remember, she was very holistic.
Right. Yeah.
And she was kind of a gardening enthusiast, right? So they said Bill actually had access to this poison through Mary herself. They also said something else about when it came to Caitlin's DNA being on the colchicine bottle, that it was just touch DNA.
Oh, right.
And that they could have gotten that by taking the bottle and rubbing it just like on the receptionist chair or something. It was very weird. It was all very...
Yeah, that would be a lot of work.
Yeah, right. This was a very elaborate setup. Either way, whoever was setting up whoever, it was very elaborate, right? The other interesting thing is Mary's other two sisters, she was one of four, Janine and Sharon, were convinced that Bill was the murderer and that Katie was being framed. So they were actually on the defense side.
So they have something against Bill, or they know something about him.
Katie's first trial ended in a mistrial when the jury couldn't reach a verdict.
Oh, great.
So in November of 2017, she was tried again.
Okay.
And this time, right before the trial, her family fired her team and brought in a new defense team.
Oh, nice.
And they switched tactics and they pointed the finger at Adam instead of Bill.
And you're all guilty. Why don't you just all go to jail?
It's crazy, right? They claimed Adam and his mother had a falling out after he stopped going to college and she cut him off. They said that he was angry with Katie because she refused to get back together with him. The defense presented texts where Adam appeared to be begging for Katie to take him back. There were also text messages showing where, like, Katie told Adam she was pregnant and had an abortion, and he was angry. Like, their relationship was super toxic.
It was a mess. But what would he have, what reason, besides, I guess, being cut off to kill his mom?
I guess he was angry with his mom for that and then framed Katie for it because he was mad at her.
Okay, yeah.
Two birds.
It's anger to both. Okay, I get it.
Right. Mary's nephew, who was also Adam's cousin, they had been roommates at the time that he was dating Katie. And that guy, I don't know what his name was, so he's just the cousin, testified that Adam and Katie had a very toxic and sometimes violent relationship.
Oh, that's not healthy.
And yet the family loved her. It's very weird, right?
And it'd be so kind of demeaning for you to have your parents be like, well, we still love her, so we're keeping her around.
Right. She's still part of the family. Right. Katie testified in her own defense at the second trial. And she said that she financially supported Adam after Mary cut him off because her family had a lot of money.
Oh.
And she testified that Adam said he believed he would get some kind of inheritance if his mother died.
Oh, so she's
so financial motive there too. Although, does that really? Well, for one, Mary didn't have a life insurance policy.
Yeah, which is shocking.
How do you get an inheritance when one parent is still alive? That happened in the last episode too. Where they're like, "Great, what do we get?" I'm like, "Hi, I'm still here.
I'm still alive."
Isn't that? I thought that was weird.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Katie said that she was afraid of Adam and that she believed he kept the colchicine in his Jeep because that way he could use it again. Like, in case he needed it.
In case he needed to take her out.
Right?
You know, you have so many instances where you want to be like, that guy
It was all very
off.
weird. It was all very back and forth, right? There was a lot of he said, she said.
Everybody's pointing the finger.
The second trial, the jury found Caitlin Conley guilty of first-degree manslaughter. Instead of second-degree murder, they considered it first-degree manslaughter.
Okay.
At sentencing, she maintained her innocence, and even Mary's sister Janine made a impact statement pleading for the judge to be lenient because they didn't believe that Katie was guilty.
They really love this girl.
So in the end, Katie was sentenced to 23 years.
Whoa.
Which I believe when she was convicted, she was 23 years old.
Oh,
so she literally got a sentence of her full life.
Oh.
Like,
that she'd already been it.
Katie maintains her innocence to this day, and she currently has yet another appeal filed that's like out there. I stumbled upon Mary's sisters have a free Caitlin Conley campaign with a website to go to where they go into detail, like so many details, where they're really pointing the finger at both Bill and Adam, like they work together to both take out Mary and frame Caitlin.
Katie. God, they must know some deep stuff about these guys. Or
there's so much like behind the scenes skeletons in the closet stuff.
There's got to be something. Dang, Bill.
So I don't know, because I kind of went down a rabbit hole of reading some of the stuff on that website, and then I was like, oh my God, maybe she was framed. But then I watched another source.
Oh,
So my initial source for this was the show Someone You Thought You Knew, season 1, episode 6, called Pick Your Poison.
Ooh, yes.
Where I was like, Katie's guilty, right?
Yeah.
But then when I'm looking up articles, I found the free Caitlin Conley website and saw all this stuff and was like, oh my God. And then I was like, maybe this is really a mystery. But then I watched Forensic Files 2, which I didn't even know they had a Forensic Files 2. Did you know that?
No. I'm excited,
there's new Forensic Files.
Sweet.
Yes. Season 1, episode 10, The Letter. And there they really were like, yeah, there's all that stuff that everybody believes, but there was so much forensic evidence against Katie. the typewriter ribbon, the DNA, the IP addresses, the Gmail account, like just like
all these. Yeah, it piles up.
It really did pile up stuff. Like she was the only common thread in a lot of stuff. So I think they did have a lot of evidence.
Yeah, probably. And juries are always swayed more by forensic evidence than anything else. Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to ask. So if any of the listeners know anything about this and know details. Seriously. Know more about Bill, because there's not much. It seems like
there isn't a lot about Bill. We don't know a lot about Kathy. There is like a huge, I couldn't even read it all. It was so long. On that website, the Free Caitlin Conley website, there is a huge letter that one of the sisters typed to Kathy. I mean, it's like 23 pages long.
Oh.
And it's typed and it says, I'm writing this to you and I'm making this open public knowledge, because she goes into all these details, but then she also has like, what is it called when there's like the little note, like the little number with the footnotes?
Notations.
Yes, there's like notations. So like if you don't know what she's talking about, then you can be like, oh, that was the private investigator. Blah. Like they go into detail where she's talking about like, I guess in court, they made it sound like Mary was estranged from her sisters. And they're like, that's not true. We weren't estranged this whole time. We knew all about the trouble between her and Bill, blah, blah, blah.
Interesting.
And that it was like they were writing it, like asking Kathy, like, so what's going on now? Like, I mean, she got involved with her sister's husband. Like, I don't know, man. There's some weird shit in that family.
There are some real deep skeletons in there.
But it was like a 23-page typed friggin' letter with footnotes. It was like, okay.
Yes, footnotes. Yes.
And this is all very recent stuff. This is all 2020 type.
Yeah, it's not like it was that long ago. Also, why is she typing out letters?
Hey,
they all really love typewriters. Oh, she did.
Exactly. At least that was on a computer. It was a computer, as far as I can tell, because I think we all learned not to use typewriter, didn't we?
Let's not do that.
So
that's still kind of mysterious.
Right. So, like, I don't know, man. After watching Forensic Files, I'm like, yeah, they got their right person. But, man, the other people are just not convinced. And it's definitely not as clean of a case as you would think.
Right. And you kind of got to believe that they know something on the inside. So,
So, I have a couple more sources, too, besides those other ones. I should just, Wikipedia, obviously.
Yeah.
And I had to look up gout and colchicine.
You had to verify.
Right, I had stuff. And I also got truecrimedaily.com and thecinemaholic.com. They also had some interesting stuff. Okay. But it's, and I believe there's also a Dateline, but I was just like, oh my God. It was almost like I was getting too much information. I was like, I'll never be able to tell this story because I'm getting overwhelmed.
Yes, then you get.
But I believe there is a Dateline from a couple years ago. But the Forensic Files that I watched was the most recent TV thing that I could watch on this. So I took that as the most up-to-date information.
Up-to-date.
Because, I found out that the Someone You Thought You Knew episode I watched was actually from, like, 2018 or something. So I'm like, well, let's see what they know now.
Yeah.
Like, it was...
That is crazy. And to frame somebody, that's just ballsy.
That's pretty devious for 22, man.
Like, she watches a lot of murder mysteries.
Right? I mean...
True crime.
Dang. But, like... Don't use the computer that you use at work.
Yeah.
Well, I guess unless you really want it to look like somebody else.
Yeah. Like she was trying.
But if don't access shit from your phone then.
Yeah. That's the big, big mistake.
Right. Who else had access to her phone? Like she's got her phone on her.
And there's no more internet cafes. So it's not like you can go to those.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Well, you can still do it from the library. But still, I mean... Then get together with Adam and access it from his. Yes. I don't know.
Somehow. But if she wanted him back, that means they weren't together at the time.
Yeah,
so weird.
So did she want him back, or did she want to get back at him, or was she like, well, let's just see what happens?
I want to get back and then get back at him.
Well, maybe she didn't think about framing him until after they got back together, and then the police thought she was poisoned.
She might do it, yeah.
Maybe she was thinking they wouldn't figure out what killed her.
That could be. And then when she sees how bad his truck is, she's like, I'm just going to put it in his Jeep. Nobody will see.
Well, you know what?
Ever see it in there.
I wonder. She made Adam sick with it once. What if Mary, as her boss, just pissed her off and she thought she was just going to give her a little also and give her the shits?
Oh, yeah.
But
it was just playing around.
Too much.
That's when you just use the laxatives, honey. Laxative brownies.
Right. What was that? The wedding crashers where they put the eye stuff in there?
Oh yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, and we had an episode about the eyes stuff.
That's
where he
right.
killed...
We did. That's right.
Yes, one drop.
Yes, one drop. Was it one drop or one dropper?
Yeah, one dropper.
I was one of those.
Hey, Oddies. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM. If you're a longtime listener, hey, we cannot thank you enough for your continued support. And if you're a new listener, thanks for giving us a try. If you like us, please drop us a like, subscribe, or rate us so we can share our stories with more people around the world. And if you'd like more information, like links to our podcast and socials, along with our Patreon fan page, those links are all on the Linktree under ODFM Podcast. That's linktr.ee/ODFM Podcast. Side note, you guys, we're obsessed with fan art, and we love making things with it, like stickers for our fans. So if you'd like us to use your designs, send it to us at odfmpodcast@gmail.com. And if we use your design, we'll be sure to send you a sticker.
Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful.